Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brainworks and another match of Beyond All Reason, where today we are dropping into a match that was played here on Supreme Isthmus. Wow, what a sightline actually. I just realized you can see clear across to the other side here as we get underway in this match. So we sent on over to the Discord and we're going to be taking a look at here today, featuring some, I would say, lower level players and what will ultimately be a bit of a learner's match. And I'm, of course, as always, excited to see what we can figure out together, what we can learn together. I would also encourage everybody, if you're seeking advice in the game, feel free to go check out the Brightworks Discord. Loads of helpful folks over there, less likely to be berated for your lack of knowledge. I know we all have to start somewhere, but there's also resources on the main Beyond All Reason Discord as well. In case you are a noob and maybe this is the first video that you're watching or the first game of Beyond All Reason you might even be seeing, welcome aboard. Welcome to the Brightworks, and welcome to Bar in general. I know there's been kind of an ebb and flow of a bunch of folks joining the game recently, so I like to extend a warm welcome to everybody as we get underway in what should be a very fun little match. So today, spawning as a red commander, as a core commander in the backline here, and going to be playing in the air position on Supreme Isthmus, a map with a very, very dedicated meta. Sometimes some would argue a little too dedicated. It's going to be our air player back here, none other than full adrenaline. It's adrenaline. It's spelled very odd, but it's full adrenaline here. The red commander going to be handing out some transports and whatnot to anybody who does need them. Looks like low key, the yellow commander will be asking for some, and of course anybody else that does have need of transport can go ahead and pay the air player some wind turbines or metal or whatever they want. Get that up and running. Ripping start to the early game here, as well as we are opening with grunt spam from Pollux, the green commander here. So this is a super popular strategy, made popular, well, I want to say a couple of months ago, almost a year ago now at this point, actually. About 7 months ago, this really became popular. And Beyond All Reason, I mean, that is ancient, right? The meta changes so frequently, but this is one of the most stable metas in the game. And this is a pretty common one. It's basically you pump out a res bot or two. Basically, you pump out 2 res bots. One eats trees, and the other eats the metal in the middle of the map. And then you go ahead and continue spamming out grunts as fast and as hard as you can until you have enough on the front line. Oh, we didn't go for a con on the back line. That's a little bit of a misplay. Usually you spam enough grunts to contest the middle, then get at least 1 con out to continue producing units while the commander moves forward. This is actually going to slow things down a little bit here for the green commander. Might end up working because, of course, we're going to store a lot of that metal, so we can go into a little bit more of an elaborate setup, and it frees up the commander ever so slightly faster. But it does put you in a weird position where all of a sudden your army is dead and the front line is now, well, a little bit less secure than it once was a second ago. Then again, it's also not like you need it to be super secure, not for super long, just long enough to extract this metal. Okay. Spawning in the tech position back here, it's QWERTYZ. Apparently, not a man interested in naming things. I'm certainly in that boat as well. Most of my file names are just a string of random letters that I've cobbled together, just kind of smashing my keyboard to name something. I hate naming files. QWERTZ apparently just rubbing their finger across the top of their keyboard here and gonna be going ahead and, yeah, playing some core backlighting. So this is interesting. Usually we see Armada in the tech spot here because they have access to those slightly more efficient wind turbines. Some bombers coming across, or a single bomber coming across, by the way. Nice snipe, takes out some of the wind turbines for Loki. Typically we do see Armada because, well, yeah, just Armada has access to those wind turbines that are ever so slightly better, and on this map, wind speed, when it's high, is quite high, so on average, wind speed is a safe gamble. Not going to be the case here, though, so it does make me wonder. Ooh, nice snipe with the LLT, catches the res bot there. It does make me wonder what we're going to actually be doing with the tech in the backline. There's a couple of options here, a couple powerful units you can make out of Cortex tech. The T2 units specifically, I'm thinking if you wanted to go into something like vehicles, of course, you could always go into Czars or something like that, but usually what we'll see is something like that out of the midliner here, Lukarishi, the Armada commander in Cyan right here in the midsection. Gonna be going for a fairly standard build. Oh, hold on, I just realized you open this menu with F11, by the way. This is your widgets menu, in case anybody is looking for their widgets. I just realized I didn't have the tracker enabled. There we go. Okay, we can see the T2 labs that have come up and running. By the way, if you're interested in the strategic construction tracker here, if you're interested in contributing to that, the mod makers reached out to me and asked for some feedback about exactly what should or shouldn't be included. So feel free to drop your feedback in the comment section of this video if you have an idea for what you think should be included in that sort of a conversation about what the mod should include, what it shouldn't, right? What units and what structures should be considered strategic enough to be tracked here. T2 Laboratory coming up and running here for the blue commander as we shut down that comm and then, of course, go ahead and reclaim it in order to pay for that T2 laboratory and get those T2 constructors going up very, very nicely. T2 Con's going to roll out the lab very quickly here. We have about 300 to 400 energy per second, depending on the wind speed, which is going to be more than enough for the earliest of these constructors coming up here. No transport shared over is a little bit unfortunate. Usually an early transport can help a lot in this sort of a situation. Not going to matter this case, though, as, yeah, this is a relatively quick T2 here. We're at about 5 minutes. Usually we see it at around 6, so this is a very comfortable timing on that T2 laboratory. Enough time that we can very easily share with the team and enjoy the benefits of T2 all around. Now, interestingly enough, we're not seeing tech here from Chodemander, the unfortunately named Pink Commander, who's going to be going into Navy instead of tech. That is interesting. I can't help but notice that Pixtomental is also, well, a newer player, to say the very least. Going into a shockingly little amount of stuff on the backline here, as we do have well, a couple of mexes up and running, wind turbines, advanced solar panel, and most pressingly of all, a hovercraft lab. Now, the reason that's interesting is, of course, normally we see something much more typical like this here, where we would have a naval lab set up off the coastline here. You go for these mexes, you try and grab these 3 mexes, you try and contest this area over here. It looks like this one was won by the yellow commander using that transport, so that's quite nice. But now we have, as you can see, the Seafoam Green commander is out here in the water, trying to find some kind of an advantage. Where's that commander at, actually? Oh, it's in the backline reclaiming trees. Okay. Normally you use that commander either to put a little bit of pressure on this side here, you use it to laser this down or try and contest these mexes, or just repair your own boats. Or, of course, you try and use it to attack the other sea. Okay, yeah, Con. Con rolling out here is a little bit questionable. Commander self-destructed. Where was that at? I actually don't even know where that commander was self-destructed at. Well, regardless, people are sacrificing their constructors all over the place here. The front line is still a bloody brawl. All bots, though, which does mean that I actually quite like this investment into the HLT. One of those things that can really easily go sideways is if you overinvest in static defenses, but if your opponent is just, strictly speaking, going into a bunch of bots, sometimes you can get away with getting a lot of value out of these HLTs. They have enough range to contest everything out of a bot lab, including the rocket bots, which have the highest range. So it means that you can, yeah, you can find a lot of value out of nowhere all of a sudden, just by setting one of these up in a really key area. Now, there is an agitator up and running. Super annoying for these T1 bots to deal with, and this is a super aggressively positioned agitator. So this thing is way up on the front line, certainly way further than we normally would see one of these. Means that it ends up working out quite nicely. Destroyer, meanwhile, catches some of these submarines and they're forced into full retreat. Submarines, a lot of people lean heavily into submarines, but they're really a strategic unit. You want to use them in very specific contexts. They're not really a brawling unit. You kind of use them for area denial and asset denial. You can use them to kill submarines, or rather, res submarines. Or, of course, you can use them to target down boats that can't hit them, like frigates, battleships, that sort of a thing. Basically, anytime a submarine is fighting a destroyer, though, you're in a bad position here. A lot of metal also left on the yellow side of the field right now. We do have the frigate engaging, so I like that quite a bit. You have to be so careful, though. 1 or 2 of these early engagements gone bad can leave an extra 2, 3, 4 boats on the enemy side, and that's really all it takes to swing some of these earliest engagements, so you do have to be super, super aware of that. Alright, look at that agitator sticking its nose into the air. Firing high up into the air here. Will they sync up their shots? No sync on this one.
Commander, self-destructed.
Agitator here. Beautiful stuff firing into the distance. Love the way that this thing looks, by the way. Sometimes there's some beautiful detailing in these units that's pretty awesome to see. We'll flip back to normal camera angle, though, and figure out what we're going for in the backline. Looks like we're actually going to rush into a T2 naval lab. Okay. Well, this is a rare strategy. I mean, this is not something we see normally. This is improvisation, essentially, right here, coming out from Chodemander. He's just trying to cobble together some kind of a strategy to make something work here. Because, yeah, I mean, the Navy being uncontested is a huge issue. That suddenly means that you have lost 3 bases. Effectively, 1, 2, and 3. The maroon, pink, and tan bases all can be contested from the sea here. All of a sudden, all it really takes is a little bit of a tech transition into T2 boats, and you can kind of get away with pressuring all of those bases down to death. It's a necessity, but it's a thankless one because obviously it means the front line is feeling a little neglected at this point. T2 should be on the field here shortly for our blue forces, as they've got a much more standard opener here. Indeed, Linocus and Porky both falling. And they don't have that normal T2 crutch that you would be expecting to fall back on at this point. The T2 is going to be in the Navy. Now, there is a world where you can test this with the Navy.
Commander,
there are boats that reach out and hit hard enough that you can fight this midsection with naval units. It's just that they're very expensive. And getting those up and running before your teammates have died, very difficult to do. Takes a lot of teamwork at the very least, or otherwise a fantastic flying start that we just don't really have here. Going for some Paladins first. The unit we're looking for at the moment is the Dreadnought. The Dreadnought has the range and damage to kind of shut all the T1 down, for the most part, and you can basically pressure the entire midsection. At least this southern half of the midsection. Now that the Fatboy's here too, there's not a lot that we really can do. The Fatboy does so much damage in a huge area. And it's not like we really have the units to degun it either. Commander already lying in heaps right here on the front line. Thugs, I mean, admirably trying their very best. T1 units still brawling over here as well. No shurikens or anything like that out of the Red Commander. A resign vote, but no shurikens from the Red Commander. It's telling. You know, it's fun to watch people tell on themselves, right?
Commander has died.
Maroon Commander goes down. Paladin, yeah, you can see it just doesn't quite have the range to reach out and hit hard enough. There are units like, again, I think this Dreadnought would be the solution here, but it's just so expensive. 3,300 metal, I do believe, for that. Yeah. Basically the cost of another T2 laboratory in order to get one of those units on the field, so it's super, super difficult to do. Pawn's coming out here, and they're going to start whittling away at a bunch of this stuff. Doing a good job here, honestly, but again, we've already seen the Maroon Commander dead, so this is pretty rough. Fatboy here, ooh, might get a money shot on this Yellow Navy. It's clumped up quite tightly here. We do have those destroyers firing away. If those things get caught by the Fatboy, you can suddenly put in way more work against a bunch of naval units. They have the HP that you're not going to overkill them with the Fatboy, which is quite valuable. There's an army of destroyers versus an army of frigates. Typically speaking, this kind of comes down to the way that the army engages here, and it looks like a fantastic trade for the Yellow Commander, who manages to vastly outtrade against the Seafoam Green here. Res subs, of course, have to be scared off because there's tons of depth charges. Means that suddenly the Yellow Commander has, one by one, just little advantage by little advantage, carved out a big enough navy here that I think we can go ahead and win the game. Just need to reinforce this with a whole handful of frigates, outproduce the Seafoam Green Commander with T2 scaling on the background, and it's a very easy one to win. Fatboy, kind of just uncontested in the backline. No air support whatsoever. This should have been paralyzed and capture commanded, or of course just degunned ages ago. Where are the shuriken? We have the T1 laboratory, we have the commands, it's the C button, and we just don't have any on the field. Like 6 shuriken paralyzes this in less than a minute. Probably less than 30 seconds. Oh no. Alright, well, now it's firing away at the AGO here of the Pink Commander, which is terrible. For the Pink Commander, anyway. This is a really awkward spot all of a sudden. There's just not a lot you can do. I mean, this is... We need some sort of a response right here. I think shuriken are the easiest option. I suppose you could... there's a starlight over here. Maybe that'd be a good solution. Somebody needs to do something about this. I mean, I guess we just watch. We'll just watch as this Fatboy enjoys a mid-morning snack of bases here. It's already taken down one base and it's working on the other, chipping away at this AGO slowly but surely. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I've got T2 tanks up and running, but they're just sitting idle here on the front lines. Fatboy changing targets. It was making good progress here. Of course, if you pop the build power, this is way easier. Fatboy taking the hard way, though. Yeah, we're, well, now I'm a little upset at how little this Fatboy has done against it. Like, 2 shots into this backline to kill the build power, and you've won here. Now it's being whittled apart by a bunch of pawns, so, alright. Oh, it's a very close call. Oh, they just barely bring it down. That last shot would have been all it took, but they barely managed to bring it down. Okay. Wow. Alright, that was a super close call, but did barely manage to pull it off here. Meanwhile, oh, okay, T2 Lab was assaulted by the powder, or rather lavender forces. Build power. Oh, we need to repair this badly. Oh, yeah, move that into the build power range. Get it repaired up nicely. Battleship does so much damage. It's stupid amounts of damage, but it's facing the wrong way, and it's not being repaired by all the build turrets either. Oh, yikes. Oh, no, there was a world where we saved it. Ah, that is tough. Too busy typing in the chat, it seems like. Kurtoid is now standing in front of a Starlight and capturing it.
Has died.
That was interesting. All right. All kinds of interesting plays coming out here today, folks. Massive naval brawl right here. We need to see some serious splitties from the yellow commander. If we just split this navy up so it gets a better concave on the seafoam green commander, this is going to be an easy GG. A little bit of target firing never hurts either. Just pinpoint down these units one by one, cut off that snowballing effect, and this is already a win. I mean, the yellow commander's clearly won this fight. We have nearly 3 times the metal in ships here for yellow than we do for seafoam green. It's just a slow death. And unfortunately, in navy, that's kind of an end-all be-all. There's not really a way to get back after this, so this does mean the yellow commander has won this. Your best option is to kind of cut your losses and start scaling on the high ground over here. Pull a unit back, pull some T2 over, just start building up some build power to start scaling. That's the pink base going down. It took a little while, but eventually we did see it. And yeah, I mean, one destroyer does remain. The lavender commander here, still pumping out units. Actually should probably make a transition. Go into either amphibious units. That's what you want to do. Once you've won your sea, you basically want to go into amphibious units. This is, like I said, we all start somewhere. Pixta Mental might have just started here. Spy Tank is a very interesting choice. Spy Tanks do not EMP when self-destructed. They also do not do very much damage. Okay. At least there's a Pipple up and running, as well as some LLTs, so that'll be nice for clearing out a bunch of this T1 force. Still, though, no shurikens. Man, the salt mining is real. That's hilarious. I love it. For the longest time, I wondered whether toxicity in bar should be ignored, whether it should be punished. I think I've finally realized that out of all those things, what it really should be is laughed at. Just to give some context into what they're bickering about here, in case you aren't kept up with chat or aren't reading it, effectively, Red Commander is upset that Pink here, instead of going into T2 on the land and helping the front, went into T2 Navy. Yellow Commander is justifying that they didn't have a Navy player, so somebody had to get into the Navy. They were effectively playing a 7 versus 8. Now, it's important when you're having these arguments to remember that it's likely you miss something. Virtually every time. Bombers coming out of the laboratory here. We're on triple fusion production. Anti-nuke starts up. And sprinters are headed in. Loads of pitbulls have been set up. Wow, those pitbulls are putting in work. Okay. Well, with the pitbulls' help, the pitbulls are having a hard time targeting. Oh no! Oh no! Friendly fire from the bombers! Oh, that's brutal. Red Commander just lost everything from their own bombers dropping a line of bombs on their own E-converters, chain reacting into the build power, and very nearly killing the fusion reactors too. Oh, yikes. A lesson about economy. Put the more explosive buildings apart from the other buildings. It does help. It really, really does. Bombs away in a Centurion right here. Things are looking just downright awful for the red team. The yellow commander has one, so that's at least one lane that we could try and express our advantage in. We are reclaiming thousands of metal that we actually can't even spend at the moment, so the yellow comm is just leaking that to the team. We do have... Red commander is tapped out of the game, but nobody's taken over. That's actually a bit of a blunder. Typically, if someone leaves the game, you always want to try and take over their stuff as quick as you can. There's a substantial amount of bombers that we have up in the air right now. These could certainly be used for something. Lavender Navy still patrolling the high seas, as it does look like the brown forces are growing as well. Starlight's pretty formidable. These are dangerous to push into, and we have quite a few of them. 4 Starlights at this point with the Fatboy as well. I wouldn't mind seeing these start to get aggressive here. Their time is going to run short as the spam of pawns running forward right here, or grunts rather, from the blue commander does move in. Yeah, look at that. Starlight's doing lovely work here. Carving apart all those T1 tanks. Bulls are quite nice too for dealing with the spam, but they're not perfect. You don't usually want laser weaponry for that sort of a thing. You don't typically want to rely on Gauss weaponry. Plasma weaponry. Oh, missile boat. Friendly firing here as well. Lightning tanks would be a much better option at this point. I'll have to hide this so we can see. Jaguar lightning tanks are a much better option than the T2 Armada vehicle laboratory. And it's slowly but surely falling right here. A handful of beamer turrets can clean this up effectively on their own too. Spam is easily killed by T1, but sometimes when you're up into T2, it can actually be harder to transition downwards into T1. Especially for those static defenses. The playmakers here today on the red team are going to be the yellow commander and the pink commander. Pink has a decent economy. It's not gigantic. Red commander is, again, left the game, but nobody has taken over here. This is a huge blunder. If you're, especially these commanders that are dead over here on this side, you absolutely want to be taking over here. So it'd be nice to see Chodemander or who was the Marine commander left the game as well. Whole bunch of quitters here today on the red team side. For shame upon you. I've won many a games that seemed unwinnable. Have faith. There might just be a way back. Oh, Fatboy doing a bunch of friendly fire damage. Unintentionally doing a bunch of friendly fire damage. Welders coming out are actually great against the spam here as well, so I like that addition.
Destroyed.
That's a commander down. It's a juicy bit of metal that you can add back into the economy right here. Pitbull firing away, bombs away as well, and the handful of grunts, actually an army full of grunts over here. 40, 50-ish grunts in total. Pitbull's not good AoE damage, though, so the grunts are going to overwhelm this quite nicely. Bombers actually, I mean, still finding some value. Impressively enough, the bombers are doing a pretty good job here. Better than hardly anything else. Not taking over this lab is killing me, though. Okay, I will say these mindless bombers have actually found some value. Impressively. These are bombers without any commands or anything like that. We've effectively got like a team's worth of donated energy, right? We've got 3,000 energy just being handed off to the team here every second. Kind of hilarious when you think about it. We've got these missile boats that haven't been achieving a whole lot either. All this is siegeable, right? So the Navy isn't really being utilized properly. It's a giant blunder. We need to see these Navy units moving out to actually do some damage. They've kind of been sitting around sort of cleaning up this front line, but a bunch of units are sneaking in, so not really doing a fantastic job at it. Fatboy, though. Juicy connections into that giant ball of T1 and T2. Missile boats do connect finally on a whole bunch of this ball, and what an effective stop to that push. All right. If we're gonna ram our head into the brick wall, then I guess that's about the most expensive way that we could possibly do it. Right into the AoE, all bundled up, beautifully packaged. Hey, look at that. It looks like the pink commander will eventually take over this base. Lovely stuff. Right in time for the anti-nuke to finish as well, which is quite nice. I don't think we have a nuclear strike pending here for any of these commanders, but it is always nice, right? Bombers finding some value now. Sharpshooters as well. A giant army of fat boys at this point, which are gonna cut apart a big group of grunts like this real easily. And all of a sudden, there's something to fear over here. Oh, the carnage! Oh, it's beautiful. The missile boats with tons of AoE, and the fat boy is the king of AoE, shutting down this grunt spam perfectly. Well, I'll say that was fantastic. Again, this army of fat boys is doing great here too. Wow, we're really throwing a bunch of T1 units into the grinder. It's the most effective way of throwing away a bunch of metal here, is just to throw a bunch of T1 trash at it. We are still spamming out boats at this point. Amphibious units would have been ideal. Salamanders or anything else like that. No build power over here is unfortunate. We will eventually start it up. It's been about 5 minutes since we've seen that build power die. Finally starting up again here. We'll need the E-converters back to produce a bunch of metal as well. 2 of those mexes are dead. There's a lot of work to be done, but at least it's getting there. Impressive to resist the urge to go into capital ships as well. The Black Hydra is oftentimes a measure that we see a lot of naval commanders lean into. It's not ideal. It's again a situational tool that can work as a means of ending bases off the coastline. But there are other options too. The missile boats are a much earlier one. And again, if they would just go over here and start firing away, it's a scouting issue primarily because we can't see the space over here. We know there's units, but we don't actually know that this is the whole T2 production center and the fusion reactors. And just now it's going to disappear as well as that radar jammer does come up and online. The power of the radar jammer is avoiding being targeted even when the enemy has superior numbers. Hounds moving forward like assault units. For what it's worth. No, I don't like this at all, actually. I can't believe how much work these Fatboys have done, though. Seriously impressive stuff. For a unit that we don't often see more than one or two of, the Fatboys today have shown us just how powerful they can be. Obviously for a huge cost at 1,400 metal a pop. Very, very expensive. But very effective. 4 or 5 different bushes have been completely shut down now because the Fatboys get 1 or 2 juicy connections. Like, why are we ramming a bunch of missile launchers into a Fatboy? Missile launchers and anti-air trucks. The more questions I ask, the more questions appear. A whole handful of submarines have appeared. Okay. Giant submarine battle. Heading on over in this direction. Those hunter-killer subs are quite a measure better than the T1 submarines here. Oh, the build power pops, though. That's brutal. Loses more than half the build power right there off the yellow laboratory. It's unfortunate. That's a big old time waster right there. Unfortunately, going to have to rebuild all of that. Need more E-converters over on this side as well, which is quite nice. But the yellow commander has plans. I'm glad to see it. Meanwhile, gunships in the air over the inherited airbase. Anti-air was started up, but not quite enough. And without proper fighters, this is just impossible to shut down. We need anti-air spammed out immediately. We still have T2 coming up here. We need to shut all this down and start spamming anti-air bots. So the only thing that's going to clean this up in time, this is suddenly looking quite difficult here. Yep. Gunships in the backline. That is all it takes. Now granted, this play might have been a little bit late. We probably could have seen this 6 or so minutes ago. Still, though, it's one of those things that's better late than never. Gunships finding the wind turbines, finding the backline, the build power, the fusions, all the rest of it. Actually, these fusions survived somehow. By some miracle, these have survived multiple different attempts on their life. Assassins and hitmen not getting paid today. These fusions won't be so fortunate. Boom goes the chain reaction right there as the pink commander loses it all in the backline. No anti-air units were built. And so the air lives. The last remaining hope right here is the yellow commander trying to get something cobbled together. We do have actually 2 air labs, so we are spamming out fighters. Might be the answer that we need here, just sheer volume of fighters. But these gunships are being reinforced, actually. It looks like it won't matter, though. The blue team forcing the red into submission with overwhelming firepower on the front and an overall better strategy. Units on the front are very powerful. And even though this wasn't that shocking of a revelation, it certainly was a good look at exactly how to play a game of Beyond No Reason. Less yapping, more units on the front. Thanks a ton for watching, folks. If you learned something today, feel free to put that down below in the comment section. Or otherwise, if you have something else to say, I'm always happy to farm that interaction from salty commenters saying, actually, in the comment section below. So thank you very much. And I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. Peace out, everybody.